Hi friends, and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Courtney if you're new, and today we're making stuffed peppers. Let's go. First things first, I'm going to put some avocado oil in my pan. You could also use olive oil or your preferred oil for cooking. Then I'm going to add in my ground beef. We're using 2 pounds of ground beef. You could use lean ground beef if you prefer. I'm using 85% here. Then we're going to add a teaspoon of kosher salt. I'm going to also add in a half teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of dried parsley, and 1 teaspoon of granulated garlic. Then I'm going to take my potato masher, which is really kind of like my meat masher at this point because I use it more for meat than I do for potatoes. And we're going to mash that until it's nice and mashed up. You want to really break apart that meat, and then we're going to let it continue browning. Once it's completely browned, we're going to lower that fire and then add the remaining ingredients. You can see it's nicely browned. We still have some pink. While you're browning the meat, you can prep the peppers. We're going to cut the tops off so they can still be used, but we're going to remove the seeds and just rinse them really nicely. Then you're going to place them in a 400-degree Fahrenheit oven and let them roast for about 20 minutes. You could do this on a baking sheet or even in a casserole dish. Now, if you prefer, you could also steam them, but they take up so much space. I just find it easier to roast them to soften them. Now we have 2 pounds of ground beef, so I'm going to do 2 cups of cooked rice. You could do par-cooked rice or even leftover rice. So we don't want the rice to be too mushy is what I'm trying to go for. Then we're going to season our sauce. I have 4 cups of tomato sauce. I used canned tomato sauce. And to season the sauce, I'm using 1 teaspoon of granulated garlic. Guys, I ran out of granulated onion, so I used a half teaspoon of onion powder and kosher salt to taste. You could also add some pepper, but I do not use any pepper in here. Then we're going to take 1 cup of that sauce and add it into the meat and rice mixture. And with the heat off, I'm just going to mix this all together. The beef is really hot and all of it's just going to mix together nicely. You really just want to make sure that rice is broken up and then combined into the meat mixture. Then we're just going to let this sit while we wait for our peppers. Once they come out, they're piping hot and we're just going to stuff them and make sure they're all filled up. Now, if you wanted, you could use different colored peppers. You could use sweet bell peppers. I prefer using the green peppers. I find they have more of a flavor contrast when you're comparing with the beef. When it's the summertime, I love to add in some fresh tomatoes. You could see there's some space in between the peppers here. So I would take some, maybe like 4 or 5 tomatoes and just cut it up and put it around the peppers, and even some onions, like 2 onions. I just love adding fresh Roma tomatoes or even like an heirloom tomato. Just it adds so much flavor. Roma is usually my go-to because I do grow those for stuff like this. It just really melds into the sauce beautifully. And then once these are fully stuffed, what we're going to do is we're going to put the pepper tops right back on them and we're going to pour the sauce over it. So we're going to do it a little bit with the tops off. So this way the sauce cooks into the meat mixture. And as you can see, I'm just pushing the tops in, making sure I find the ones that fit to the other one. I kind of saw one escaped, so I found it in between the 2 peppers. And we're just pushing the pepper filling in more, so really stuffing these peppers. Then I'm going to place on some aluminum foil, and then once that is covered, I'm going to bake it for 30 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, or you could do 350 degrees for 40 minutes. Or you could even go for 350 for an hour if you want them really soft. What I like to do is while that's baking, this is one of those things that you could just like put it in the oven and then you can clean. I really like to make sure I clean my stove after something like this because as you saw when I was transferring that meat, I got it all over my stove. I'm just doing a quick clean. This is not a thorough deep clean, but this is a clean that I like to do every time I cook because I know that the weekend I will do my deep clean where I will scrub the grates and everything like that. But this is just to get all of that stuff up because there was a lot of meat and sauce that I had dropped. I'll be honest, but my future self thanks me for stuff like that. So once the peppers are done, my stove is clean. I could literally just serve dinner and put everything into the dishwasher, which is awesome. The peppers look absolutely beautiful. They are hot, so you want to let them cool before touching, but they are completely done. Now you can go and enjoy and serve it up. Our stuffed peppers are all done. I'm ready to dig in. I put one on a plate with a little bit of sauce and I'm going to cut it open. Just going to take that top off and set that to the side, and we're going to cut it right in half. Whoa. Look how beautiful that is. Oh my goodness. Now if you wanted, you could have done this in halves and baked it like that, but I like it like this. And if you like it a little softer or a little harder, you can cook it less or more. I'm gonna take a first bite. I love using green bell peppers instead of like red or yellow, although you can use those as well. I find that they're a little sweet, so they don't cut the flavor of the meat as much, and it kind of balances it out. Oh, it's so good. I could just eat this and eat this. During the summer, I will have a ton of peppers, and I'll just use whatever colors. I'll also add big chunks of tomatoes and chunks of onions into the pan when I'm cooking it, so it has a lot more flavor going on. If you like them a little bit softer, you can go for a half hour to 40 minutes. You can even go for an hour if you like them really soft and you want them to like be able to cut with a fork, no need for a knife. So growing up, my mom would actually cook the meat in the pepper instead of making it on the stove, and I find that browning the meat adds so much more depth of flavor, and it really makes it really moist instead of that boiled beef. I will say I loved my mom's stuffed peppers, but this is just another level up. I want to thank you guys so much for watching my video, and we will see you guys soon. Bye, friends.